So it's 60 degrees. AccuWeather says it's supposed to feel like 64 degrees. It feels like 50 to 55 degrees. So wrong, UWeather, am I right?
You're right.
Because it keeps being warm in the middle of the week.
I know.
And getting chillier on the weekend. And it's been doing that for weeks. And it's winter. And there's new leaves on the trees. And it's...
We should look ahead. We should think positively about the future. Because it's Year of the Trail.
Oh yeah, it's Year of the Trail.
You like that little segue? It is Year of the Trail in 2023. We are interested because we like to hike. I like to hike, you like to hike. We hike a lot. And we've hiked a lot of interesting places.
But hiking is not the only way to do a trail.
That's right. There's also biking, which we also like. And we'll talk more about that at some point here. And paddling.
Yes, and equestrianing.
Equestrian? Is that
or whatever horsing is.
Horsing around?
There's horsing around.
Equestrianing around.
I suppose there would be like wheeling if you're in a wheelchair.
Yep.
There's other mobility devices, but I don't know the verbs for all of that.
But the key is to get out and enjoy North Carolina's admittedly beautiful areas.
If I had to take a guess, I would think that the Year of the Trail has to do with money for tourism and getting our lazy bums moving. First, we're going to talk about 7 trails that we like in North Carolina, and then we're going to talk about 7 types of trails we'd like to attempt this year.
All right, so let's see, what do we have here? First,
this was actually kind of hard to do, to come up with our combined top 7, because
I made my top 7, and then you made your top 7, and there were some similarities, but there were some non-similarities. Is that the word? There were some differences.
I think the word is differences. Yeah.
There was a difference between the lists, but then we were able to merge them down, and I think I'm really happy with the list that we came up with. So to start it all off, I think was both of our favorite. This is one area we weren't different on.
It's hard to really actually pick a favorite, but for the sake of making a list.
This is on the top of both of our lists. How about that?
Number 1, should we do it down? Should we count down? We should count down.
We should count down.
Coming in at number 7 is
UMSTEAD State Forest. I struggled with it on my list because I thought I kind of discounted it. It's one of those things where, like, when you live near something, even though you don't always take advantage of it, or you kind of just think of it as just it's always there. And I didn't put it on my list originally, but I hiked it a lot, and I really enjoy hiking it.
It's a really excellent forest.
It really is, and has several trails. So there's the Potts Branch Trail, just a few I hiked. Potts Branch. The
Oak Rock Trail.
Oh right, the Oak Rock Trail. I only recently started going on that one. That's really cool. It's a beginner trail, but it has like really nice windy areas. Like you get a little river crossing, and there's the tree.
Yeah, there's the reason it's called the Oak Rock Trail, which is there's a huge rock and there's an oak growing out of it.
That's really why it's called the Oak Rock Trail? I didn't know that's the reason. It makes sense now, in retrospect. But yeah, it's a great park. We go there a lot. There's a couple lakes that we can sit by. We've had picnics there.
There's also a lot of biking trails. There's a chainsaw log.
The chainsaw log. We rode our bikes on it. That's right, I forgot.
Yeah, we did. There's picnic tables, 2 ponds, camping.
Creeks.
Not camping for RVs or anything.
No, lots of creeks and...
Yeah. So going on the trails can get really interesting.
Yeah.
Figuring out where they go can get really interesting.
It's near the airport, so you get a little bit of airport sound depending on where you are.
I think it depends on the season, because in the winter you hear it more, and then when there's more leaves on, you hear it less.
Did I ever tell you about my theory about UMSTEAD, by the way?
No.
In a future like dystopian world where Raleigh and Durham merge into one super city, UMSTEAD's the Central Park of Raleigh-Durham.
They keep it.
Anyway, moving on. Next up on the list, at number 6...
Jockey's Ridge State Park.
AKA Dune.
Dune.
I like this park a lot. I've only been a couple times, and it's one of those ones... It's hard to talk about it as a trail because even though there are trails, it's
I think the Mountain to Sea Trail goes over it, and there is a trail, but like you start walking along the trail and you get out to the dunes, and then it's just sand. I mean, there's still markers and you can technically follow the trail, but then you really can just walk all over and it's just kind of one big trail.
Yeah, and there's people kite surfing, paragliding, whatever it is, gliding. Kite gliding. There's people flying kites, of course.
Yeah. You can rent from Kitty Hawk Sports.
Right.
You can rent like a sand sled.
Sand sled.
Sand sled.
Sand sled.
Sand sled, 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 sand sled. I can't do that one 10 times.
Finally found one that tripped her up.
Anyway, you can rent sand sleds, which I want to do.
Yes.
Because we didn't do that
We didn't.
when we went.
Well, because the dunes are so high too, they're
big.
They're not small dunes, and you could get high enough altitude that you can see the ocean and the sound.
Yeah.
And, which is a really neat part of the Outer Banks anyways, you know, it's such a thin piece of land. And one of my favorite moments of ever being on Jockey's Ridge was a storm was coming in from the west over the sound, and I could just see like this wall of rain coming towards us.
Oh, I don't remember this.
That was before. That was.
Oh, when you went before.
Yeah, this is when I went a long time ago.
Do you think the Wright brothers went to
Oh, geez.
Jockey's Ridge? No, I'm honestly asking if the Wright brothers, who did the first flight in North Carolina.
The Wright brothers from Ohio?
Do you think they went to Jockey's Ridge? They had to have.
Probably.
Do you think they considered flying there? Do you think they did some hang gliding there?
Well, back then it was probably all one piece, and there wasn't a Jockey's Ridge then, right? I don't know when the state park was founded.
That's a good question.
So it was just sand, and they found the part that had flat areas so that they could fly.
Do you think we should dress up like it's 1903 and go to Jockey's Ridge?
Yes.
Suddenly I'm just wanting to costume the whole trail. Coming in at number 5.
The BOONE Greenway Trail, which we went on once.
We did.
On bikes. This is one we biked.
And I should be specific. I'm sure it's lovely in other seasons. We went in the fall, so you're riding along the trail.
It's beautiful.
And it's not like quite like mountains going up beside you, but the top, because you're already at elevation. So the tops of hills, you're riding through, and it's all of this orange and yellow, and it was
amazing.
It's just nice.
Yeah. We were on our bikes, but it wasn't like super hilly. So it was a nice ride. Unfortunately, we only were on it for a little bit. So
it's a very short trail.
I'd like to maybe have a picnic along it more. I'm sure there's more
just
things.
take our time.
Yeah.
It goes over a stream and stuff.
But it's definitely a really fun.
It's short, but in the fall, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
If you walked it would take longer.
Yeah.
And it goes along, it starts in a park.
Yep.
Where there's like sports fields and things and picnic tables. There's a nice little garden there too, if I remember correctly. We saw some deer on the side of the hill.
And they're climbing up the hill.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
So yeah, it's nice. It's, again, short but sweet.
Very short, but we definitely should go again sometime.
Yeah.
With a picnic basket. So, coming in at number 4 is
Linville Falls. This is an interesting one too, where I get to talk about when I went to it earlier. So I hiked it in college. I have no idea where we started. If you take the trail from the Linville Falls Visitor Center, you have 2 options. You can go to the right or you can go to the left. And we took the right one, fall of 2021. 2021, yeah. It was crowded.
Really crowded.
And we didn't go the whole way, but you can go up and look down at the falls.
Right.
So I don't know how the other side works. And I don't remember college what happened, because I just remember that I feel like we climbed down and looked up at the falls at one point, even though a lot of my pictures from then are from above. So I could be remembering wrong, but I've actually seen the falls.
Yeah. When we went in 2021, we didn't go all the way to the fall. We saw the smaller falls.
At the top, there's like a little bitty fall.
Which is a really great place.
Yeah.
It was very crowded, like you said.
Yeah.
And a lot of the trails going down into that area are kind of one way. So there's lots of traffic jams.
Yeah, it's tight.
But it's such a nice place. And that whole Linville Gorge area is, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
It's pretty.
It's very pretty.
It's beautiful.
Linville Gorge and Linville Falls
majestic.
Are wonderful.
It's fantastic.
Fantastisch.
Wunderbar.
All right, moving on, which I think was your favorite in one of your tops in the list.
This was really tied for number 1 with me.
Yeah.
So it's a little disappointing that it's all the way at number 3.
I kind of think of the top 3 as just like tied for first. Let's just say that. We'll agree to agree.
The Fort Fisher Basin Trail at Fort Fisher Recreation Area. I don't feel like coastal trails get nearly enough attention in North Carolina. This trail starts off like right near the parking lot. Where there's a beach there. There's this rocky area, and then there's this trail that you can take. It goes through marshes. There's these ponds and grasslands. There's wildlife, specifically birds.
Of course, sand, dunes.
No, not too many dunes.
A little bit of sand though.
A little bit, yeah. It was sand because you're right near the beach.
Yeah.
But the dunes are kind of like, the dunes here in the southern part of North Carolina are much smaller than the Outer Banks.
Yeah.
There's some off-roading you can do, like in your Jeep or your 4x4 too. So there's that kind of a trail. This is a walking trail, and you walk all the way down to like the end of the island, or no, it's not the end of the island, because the end of the island goes all the way down to Bald Head, I think.
But there's like a lookout at the very end.
But yeah, on the sound side,
yeah,
more birds and a nice observation deck, where we sort of set up and took a lot of pictures and things.
And it's a long trail, and we had not.
It's not long.
Yeah, it was long for us at the time.
It's not necessarily a quick trail, because there's different surfaces you're walking on. Sometimes sand, sometimes like a boardwalk, and it's not like a simple like through the woods trail where you can kind of go walk a little faster.
But I think I discounted it when I put it on my list. When I put it lower on my list, I discounted it because you reminded me just now of how many different types of trail you're on. Because you were walking through like short trees, you're walking in the sand, you're walking through the marsh. You had like boardwalks over like a huge marsh. It is a really cool trail.
And you go under like tunnels of trees at sometimes.
And they had like the World War II bunker thing.
They did. They have this guy who was sort of either really prepared or more paranoid. Probably really prepared, and then seemed to be more paranoid about World War II. And it's basically the square concrete bunker. Yeah. I love this trail, and I do want to go back to it.
Yeah, it's a great trail, and definitely want to spend more time on it.
Coming in at number 2 is
Pea Island National Wildlife Refuge, which is something we just learned about very recently.
I know, it's a new addition.
We learned about it this year, technically, January 1st of 2023. So we started off Year of the Trail.
On a trail.
On a trail.
Which a lot of people do. That's like a thing.
We didn't know that we did it though at the time.
It was impromptu.
It was. But an amazing place. Something that has sand dunes, not quite Jockey's Ridge height, but you definitely have that like I'm in the desert feel.
Yeah, and at least
not
when
desert,
we went,
but I'm in the
not in the desert,
I'm
but
in the sand.
You're in dunes, and they're pretty tall.
Yeah.
And then there's a trail, and again you sort of come out to the sand, and it's like, okay, we're now. They have a lot more signs, I think.
Right.
At least when we went, it wasn't as crowded. It's not as well known as Jockey's Ridge, so.
In some ways, we kind of joke that we're okay with that because we liked it. Like Jockey's Ridge is unique, and it was on our list, obviously, but it is also more well known. So there's a lot more people there.
And tourism
there. Pea Island is further south. It's a little bit of a drive to get there.
Well, and like the people said, the wildlife refuges are for the animals, and the national parks are for people. So the Pea Island is a wildlife refuge.
Right.
It's meant to be preserved for animals.
Right.
People are allowed to visit, but we're not the point.
We're not the point.
We're at a point, but it's not the point.
Right.
We're not the point.
But you get to look out over Oregon Inlet. Oregon Inlet?
Yeah, so the part we went to was the south end of Oregon Inlet.
Right. Drum roll. Coming in at number 1
is
Wiseman's View, which is back in the mountains at Linville Gorge, just kind of near Linville Falls, but.
Yeah, it's probably closer to Linville Falls than the southern end of the gorge, but it's all in the middle. Yeah. It's not easy to get there.
It's not easy to get to. There's a long road. It's mostly a dirt road.
Yeah.
But there are some areas where you need...
It's best to have 4-wheel drive.
Probably depending on when you go to, like after rain, you're probably more likely to need it.
We've gone twice. One was fine. We didn't have to use 4-wheel drive in our Jeep. We didn't have a Jeep, and we still do. We had our Jeep. We did see 2-wheel drive sedans and things on it.
We saw a Tesla at the top.
They're kind of low, that's why we bring that up.
Yeah.
We went again about a month later, and the road was way more like ripped up and just tough. We did use 4-wheel drive a tiny bit.
Right. But once you get through the drive up there, there's a kind of small parking lot, medium-sized parking lot, and a short walk out to Wiseman's View.
So again, a very short, so it's a 4x4 trail, kind of. It's a road, but it's kind of a trail.
Right.
and then a walking trail, although it's accessible. This is one of the unfortunately few truly accessible trails. So it's 0.4 miles out, I think, and then so going total would be 0.8. That's not too bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's a short trail.
But what you get for that short walk is when you get closer, you have that tunnel effect where you kind of see what you're about to see through the tunnel, and once you kind of step out, you are into this.
It's the Grand Canyon of North Carolina.
I mean, I have not been to the Grand Canyon, so I can't say.
Look, it's not as big as the
Grand Canyon. It's not as big as the Grand Canyon.
It's not even close.
But like, I imagine that the feeling that you get of just seeing like such a large open expanse in front of you, and you're just at the edge of it. It's got to be bigger at the Grand Canyon, but like, it's the East Coast version of that you can get, and amazing.
Yeah, because when I in college went to see Linville Falls, I don't remember seeing this gorge, or maybe I was just young and unimpressed. It's just so beautiful. There's different mountain peaks. There's Hawksbill and Table Rock. I think every state has a Table Rock, and I forget the names of the others at the moment. And you can come in from the other side. I think those roads are a little easier.
Yeah.
There are still forest roads, so they can be gravelly.
Yeah.
And then there's more. I think most people describe it as moderate. There's definitely strenuous hiking in Linville. Just definitely, if you want to go to Linville Gorge, make sure you know what trail you're going on. This is one of the top areas in the United States for rescues, because people just get themselves in trouble, and there's no cell service.
There's no cell service. So that was our top 7 trails that we've been to in North Carolina. Now we get to look forward to this year, the year of the trail.
The year of the trail.
Sorry, there's fireworks.
Oh.
What are the trails that we want to do this year? We tried to do this the hard way, like we did with our top favorites of the previous years. Yeah. But we got in this part where it's like, there's too many we want to do. There's different goals. Like, what can we even do?
Well, part of it has to do with we have a cat who is extremely attached to us. So that's why she goes with us on our trips. But we don't want to go on like huge hikes because she's not an adventure cat.
Yeah.
We don't go to huge hikes where we leave her in the van for a very long time.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing like day-long hikes because she's not going to be happy about that.
We're not really in shape for that anyway.
As much as we'd want to be, we're not.
Maybe one day.
So what we did is, instead we kind of categorized it into types of trails we want to do with some examples.
Right, and that way we can just aim for filling in the 7 types of trails, and at the end of the year, we'll look back and be like, we reached our goal.
All right, so what do we got here? Do you want to do top down or just, this isn't really ordered. I don't think these are ordered.
Yeah, we'll just go.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first category is
waterfall trails. So Linville Falls was a good example.
Right.
I really like going on a trail, like that feeling of being out on a trail. You put the effort in, weaving through the mountains, and then you kind of end on just an amazing waterfall.
Yeah.
It's such a reward.
It's like a reward.
Yeah. And it is a reward because it's amazing. And like we've seen some, but I want to like put emphasis into it this year.
Yeah. North Carolina has a lot of waterfalls. We should be seeing more of them.
So some examples. Well, I want to see Triple Falls Trail.
I actually don't know what that is. Tell me.
A lot of
these. Are there 3?
There's 3 of them. And I think it's one of those ones where it's like, you just see like kind of.
Is it like 1, 2, 3 side by side, or like
no,
1,
it's vertical.
2?
I think it's vertical.
2, 3. Okay.
It's at DuPont State Recreational Area. We haven't been there, but the pictures just, when I was looking for waterfall examples, I was just like, this is one I want to try. And it looked like something that's relatively doable for us.
Okay. The next one is South Mountains, and this is a state park with a lot of regular trails. I think there's some trails you can bike on. I think you can camp there. I think there's actually even maybe more than one falls, but there's one main trail that I ever went on with my friends in college, and the end is just a great waterfall. I mean, this is the like textbook hike in, see a waterfall. Like, this is it. And there's a lot of boulders. I don't think you have to climb on the boulders. This has been like 25 years, okay? So, but he hasn't seen it, and I know he'd like it. So part of the reason this is on the list is because I want to see him experience it.
she's not going to look at the falls at all. She's just going to watch me the whole time.
Yeah, I'm just going to totally I'm going to walk backwards and then not look at the waterfall. I'm just going to watch his reaction. That's it.
That'll be fun. And then the last example is Crabtree Falls, but I think this is more of which is along the Blue Ridge Parkway. But I think this is kind of a group. Like, I know along the whole parkway, there's lots of little trails that go off to waterfalls.
Crabtree Falls is a pretty popular one, so yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't think the trail's all that bad to get out there, if I remember correctly.
So,
all right, so that's waterfalls.
Waterfalls trails, that's the first group. So the second group is something that we haven't done at all yet.
Paddle trails.
So, some examples.
Well, we've actually been to Lake Crabtree.
Right.
And paddled at Lake Crabtree, but there's technically a trail that goes all the way around, and we've never done that before.
Right.
It's like 6 miles, I think.
Yeah, and I'd really like to do it because
I would too. But
every time we do it, we rent a kayak, or we've used our own kayaks. Yeah. But we've gone out for a little bit and then came back, and that was it. Yeah. So I'd like to do it as a trail.
As a trail, really fun. Yeah, it'd be great. Jones Lake is one of the Carolina Bay lakes.
Oh.
And so instead of having a source like a spring or something for the water, these lakes are only made from runoff.
Right. And
Jones Lake is actually also has a history of being the first, back in the days of segregation, the first state park for African Americans. And eventually all the parks got integrated, thank goodness. But it still does have that distinction, that historical aspect, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. So the Bay Lakes in general, whether it ends up being Jones Lake or not, but the Bay Lakes in general are something I'd like to kayak on.
Yep. And then the last example is one that we actually went to do some photography 2 years ago? A year ago?
A little over a year.
A little over a year ago, is Robertson Mill Pond Preserve, which is a swamp.
Yeah.
And it has like all those like swampy trees that come out of the water, and there's a trail. Like there's a paddle trail that you can take around it, which looks really fun.
Yeah, and I think you can do this at Dismal Swamp State Park. Mm-hmm. All right, coming in at number 3 for types of trails to try in North Carolina in the year 2023 is
biking trail.
All right, I would think that's walking, but
well, I was pedaling.
Okay.
So some examples
are
Banner Elk Greenway.
So this is another one in the mountains, just south of Boone. Yeah, it looks. I mean, if you've never been to Banner Elk, it's gorgeous. Beautiful. It's like it's in the valley among the mountains. That's just so pretty.
And we'll probably be there in the summer, so it won't be. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see when we're there.
We'll see how many people go to the mountains in the summer.
Yet another summer in the mountains is in Asheville, is the French Broad Greenway.
Oh yeah, so the French Broad Greenway goes along the French Broad right through Asheville. Yep. I think they've been making recent improvements to the Greenway too. So yeah, that is a trail I really have been wanting to try for a while.
But we need something not in the mountains.
Oh, Corolla Greenway.
Corolla
Greenway. I've never been up there.
Me either.
For anything. There's a lot to do up there.
Yep. Apparently horses.
Yeah, there's horses.
We'll bike past the horses.
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised that there's a Greenway up there, because Corolla is sort of known, I think it's just beyond Corolla where the pavement stops, and then it's sand. You need a 4-wheel drive.
And you can't actually, I learned recently, you can't actually get to Virginia.
Nope, there's a gate that blocks.
Which is wild.
Apparently only a few people have the key to this gate. It would be interesting to go all the way to the border at some point, but that's a different topic.
All right, moving on. Category 4 is mountain trails. We've talked a lot about this. Yeah. It's the obvious one, but there's a lot of fun walking in a mountain. Yeah. You get elevation, obviously, you get views. There's also so much to choose from. Yeah. The supply is strong. All along the Blue Ridge Parkway are tons of trails, and I've always thought of Blue Ridge Parkway for the most part as driving along. Right. And in the past couple of years, as I really like just to look at maps, because I just do, I'm like, oh, there's walking trails everywhere. Right. And that's one of the reasons people drive the parkway, and they park and they go on the trails. And so I'd like to do some of the hiking trails. Yeah, for sure. In addition to Blue Ridge Parkway trails, there's also Pilot Mountain has a couple trails that go around it. And this trail goes around the main part of Pilot Mountain, so you can kind of look at the rocky cliffs, but it's not a very difficult trail. So I'm really excited about that one. Yeah, I've been to Pilot Mountain a few times, and I've always looked at it, but I don't think I've walked around it. Yeah. And then obviously Linville Gorge, there's trails all over the place there that we want to just go back, and in addition to Wiseman's View, we want to see all the other ones. Maybe. Yeah, and I don't think we touched on it earlier, but Linville Gorge also is untouched. It's never been developed. There's just so few places anymore, at least that
have been preserved.
And I'm still not going to say it about Linville Gorge. It's wonderful. Next up on the list is
beach trails.
You're on the mountains, you have the views. Well, you have lots of views of the ocean and the sound out on the beach, or even,
well, I think
that's the Outer Banks, obviously other beach areas.
Growing up, for me, with either my family or my friends, the beach was always just go to the beach, hang out at the beach, suntan, maybe do a little swimming in the ocean, maybe at the pool if your hotel has one, or get some ice cream. And that's all great. No complaints.
Maybe walk along the beach.
Yeah, or the boardwalk.
Or the boardwalk, right.
I'm talking about nature trails at the beach. And the Basin Trail, of course, as I talked enthusiastically about it earlier, just got me really enthused for beach trails.
Right.
There's some great trails at Cape Hatteras National Seashore.
Yes.
What else do we have on here? Nags Head Ecological Preserve. Carolina Beach State Park.
The Venus.
There's a few trails there, and one of them has the Venus flytraps. Yeah.
But I think beach trails is neat. Like the Basin Trail is a perfect example. It's just such a good, I don't know.
I think what's interesting is
feels good.
You might go to Pilot Mountain one weekend, you might go to Jockey's Ridge the next weekend, and you end up with very similar pictures, but they're completely different environments, and they're in the same state. It just, I can't get over it. One of the things, and I've lived here almost my entire life.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about North Carolina is you have such a wide variety.
Coming in at number 6 is
wildlife trails, because, well, we love photography, and we've said it many times on this where we'll be on a trail and we'll see a deer, we'll see birds. I want to go on trails and dedicate time to taking photos and just seeing the wildlife. And there's a lot of trails like that. All right, some examples of wildlife trails.
Also alligators.
Oh, I would like to see an alligator from a distance as well.
From a distance.
That song was written about alligators. I don't know if you knew that. Fake facts.
Some examples are Croatan National Forest.
Yeah, which is a national forest we haven't been to. That's down by Wilmington, or north of Wilmington?
Yeah, it's near Jacksonville.
Yeah, lots. It looks like there's lots of wildlife there. Second one, which we visited recently, but it was kind of a quick stop off.
Yeah, it was like a lunch stop, a quick walk after. We would take the whole trail.
Yep, and that is
Hokuston Lakes National Wildlife Refuge.
That's where we learned that the wildlife refuges are for the animals. But it's a great looking park, and I'd love to spend more time there. And then finally, we mentioned this earlier,
Great Dismal Swamp State Park. I really want to go there.
Will there be alligators there? Is that an alligator place?
I can't remember if there's alligators there. I think so.
We'll see.
Or not. At first we thought urban trail.
Yeah.
But then we decided on, at number 7,
city and town trails.
Yeah, because towns and small towns aren't necessarily, you don't think of it as urban, but basically not out in the wilderness, kind of close to town.
Yeah, well, and we thought that things like we enjoy, it wasn't on our list, but we enjoy the North Carolina Art Museum Park.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit into anything else really, but those types, that could fit into this category.
To the city park.
So it was kind of our category for that type of thing. So some examples of that are
Old Salem Road Strollway.
That looked really cool. That was like the old area. It's like Old Salem. It's right
in case you don't know, in Winston-Salem, there's this area called Old Salem, and it's a preserved historical site where there was a Moravian settlement. So that would be really interesting.
Ducktown. Ducks on the Outer Banks, and you found this one and sent it to me, and it looks really cool because it's like that small beach town. Mm-hmm. But the park, the boardwalk looks really cool. It looks like a nice little stroll.
It's Soundside. So you get some sunsets. Yeah, that's which will be true. Nice. Yeah, you would get good sunsets there. So
that looks really great. And then the last one is one that we should have done by now. I can't believe we haven't.
Well, we've walked part of this.
Yeah.
The Wilmington River Walk.
Very small part of it though.
Yeah, it'd be nice to just walk the whole thing on purpose. Yeah, that'd be great.
So yeah, that's our list of categories of trails we'd like to do in 2023 for the year of the trail. But that was fun. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have a 2024 video maybe of recounting the adventures we've done. So it's already February, and now it's March. So we're gonna need we haven't really been given the opportunities to do this, so we gotta figure that out.
The weather has not been in our favor. Starting out, it's been nice during the week, bad on the weekends.
So hopefully that will change soon, and we can get out there and do the year of the trail. Oh yeah, also, I'm Josh.
I'm Nat.
We're Nat and Josh. So year of the trail. It is an interesting thing that the state of North Carolina proclaimed